My name's Liam Broza. I'm third generation Los Angelino, but I spent about a decade on the East Coast in Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, working for Amazon, the Navy, Homeland Security. I was doing data science, machine learning, behavioral analysis, threat assessment, behavioral prediction. And I became a bit of a nut about personal data. Some of the really big pressing problems of our age. We're nothing but genes and memes really under the hood. We have no free will, as I just said, but we have to pretend like we do. And vulture capitalism, surveillance capitalism, the Chinese social credit system, they're all founded on this idea that we are all very predictable. To put a button on the point of trust and control, I mean, how much do you guys trust the platforms and the devices that you use? How much do you guys feel in control of your personal data? Not so much, because I don't feel that way. I mean, if you want to trust Silicon Valley, you want to trust the titans of industry, I don't think anybody really does. And you don't have to look very far. Like, you guys ever heard of terms of service? Didn't read? Anybody actually read terms of service? It's a great this is a great website that actually ranks like how well companies reserve their rights. My personal favorite is Amazon's IMDb, which very much runs parts of Hollywood. Pretty much screws over anyone and everyone on all sides of IMDb. Even a good player like Microsoft's GitHub. Everybody, I always have to say their parent company. They're not too good to their users. They're not too good to us. And because of that, I want to tell you guys about a bigger conversation. I'm usually not here in Hollywood talking about digital twins. I'm usually talking to people in the API economy, people in the big data world. I go to places like the Internet Identity Workshop or the My Data Initiative or the Data Transfer Project or MIT Solid or Sovereign Hyperledger, all these places where people are trying to solve these identity problems. And we talk about three concepts. One of them is just like, what is identity? And we all have a basic idea of what that is. Identity is how we interact with civilization. We identify ourselves as distinct from others. And our identifiers are usually things about us that don't change, right? Their name or age, what have you. And that's all pretty basic. The other thing that we use, and my slides are a little screwed up here from getting off Google Slides, is we use credentials to move through the world. And that's like essentially the idea that a third party verifies stuff about us. Like driver's license tells that I can drive, my high school and college certificates say I'm educated, my criminal record says I'm not a criminal. You know, I have all these different certificates, all these third parties, right? And then I have data proofs, right? So the idea of a data proof is just some data that actually verifies a credential, something about my identity, something about myself. So like a data proof would be like, I want to return this MacBook Pro. I have my receipt. That's my data proof that I bought it, right? You can think of these. Now, why I brought up identity, credentials, and proofs is because there's an idea called the self-sovereign digital identity. That's the idea that we can digitize identity, credentials, and proofs in this ecosystem where they all connect. They're all digital, they all connect, they all rely on each other. And if identity, credentials, and proofs all work in a digital framework together, you get a self-sovereign digital identity, which means that I can take my personal data, I can take everything about myself, and I can interact with the world where I have some deep autonomy. And identity is a fundamental human problem right now. Like having formal identity is really what holds back the lowest 2-3 billion people on the planet who don't have ability to get educated, the ability to travel, the ability to bank, the ability to be part of telecommunication. It's usually because they lack identity. And everything about the digital world is really broken around identity. What's the strongest way that we identify ourselves on the internet? It's usually by our credit card number and our email address, right? It's not really a robust way to do things. And it also means that we're not beholden to third parties to enforce our identity. I'm not beholden to my email provider and my credit card provider to be my source of my identity. I can hold it upon myself. That's a long conversation, but I want you guys to have this in your mind as we start talking about digital twins. So us at LifeScope, we're trying to play in this big world of digital identity, and we're focusing on the data proofs. We're focusing on a very specific part that we call the digital memory, which means how do I build a personal database of myself where I can have a copy of my own personal information? How can I get a list of all the places I go, all the people I interact with, everything physical and everything digital I interact with, as a set of events over time, as a trail on a map of everywhere I go, as an ultimate contact list, as an ultimate list of the things I own, as an ultimate list of all the things I view, all the media I viewed and interacted with. And in such a way that I can search through it in a natural way, the same way I think about, I ask questions to my own internal memory with questions of who, what, when, where, what was that song I was listening to with Susie at my house 2 weeks ago? Stuff like that. And so this idea has been around for a while, like Alan Turing and Ray Kurzweil and Arthur C. Clarke, Ray Bradbury, all of them talked about we were going to have a 1,000-watt computer in our house that took up a room, and it would be the home mainframe, and it would contain everything about ourselves, our personal information, our personal knowledge. And it's really, the modern manifestation of this is we should have a right to get our own copy of our own information. That when we interact with a service, we get a copy. When we're done with that service and we want to kill our account, we have a right, they have a right to be forgotten. We have a right to move on to our next service. Real freedom of autonomy. And we're going to need it because if you guys haven't been paying attention for the last 2 days, and Gartner confirms that the singularity is coming. Stuff's getting out of so much stuff's getting out of the lab. We can barely manage and negotiate with the technology that's that we have right now, and the stuff that's coming down the line is just insane. And I can go through this slide later. Go read the Gartner hype cycle chart. It's a mind job. This is one I threw in there. It's what I just described as a digital memory is going to be needed for the next generation of interactions. Like the metaverse is coming, it will be customized, and it's the only way we can really have these rich interactions is if it's driven off a digital memory. I love these type images, especially the now dead Google Maps fox that will then, just it runs into a Target and cries because you didn't buy a PlayStation. This is what we've built. This is called This is the LifeScope dashboard. If you sign up for our service, we build you a digital memory. It connects to all your services, all the devices you use, your web browser, and it pulls out people, places, things, contacts, locations, and then figures out all the people you interact with. Oh, this is a video, by the way. Pins all the answers you care about, and it lets you tag anything out of your life. Yeah. You get an idea. Here, just move to the next one. If you guys are interested, check it out later. Yeah, see, this is from our commercial. These are all full of jokes. Here, can I just move on to the next one? Yes, I can. So this is what it looks like to use our digital memory. This is stuff we've been working on for the last 2 years. It's just like an app interface to your digital memory. You connect everything. You see like an Instagram feed. You can search it and then pin answers. Like for instance, this right here is a way to look at every song I've ever listened to, whether it's SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, all in one place. This shows you what a user-centric look at a life looks like. And if you hit play here, this is another view of it. We have a map view. So we can make this is sort of like a heat map view, but we can also make a trail view that shows you, this is just a little sample set out of my life. And you can zoom in and see anywhere you go, any and everywhere you go. Gives you like a general idea. We have so much to cover, I'm just going to move past it. And this personal database we've had built for a number of years, and we've built it as a platform so you can build software on top of it, drive software with it, and we've been doing many interesting experiments with it. One of them is we've been playing in augmented reality and virtual reality. This is what we call the LifeScope globe. So I spawn this. We both sign up for LifeScope accounts. I spawn this globe in the middle of the room. You touch it and I touch it. Say we want to get to know each other. And in red are little points on the globe where we've both been to. In blue is little points where we've both been to at the same time. And now we just get a way to interact with each other, to get to know each other in a whole new way, powered by our personal databases. This is a video. We've also, if you hit play, we've also built a virtual reality way to interact with your memory. This is an 8-person web VR room we call the Time Machine. It's like Google Earth, except it's mapped with your own personal data. So say you want to jump in with your friends and actually go check out that trip to Bali you took from 2008. Well, you jump in the time machine, the sun moves back to 2008, the world moves, and now you're on the beach in Bali from 2008. And it's the aerial and street view images from 2008, and you see a little trail that says, hey, that's the bungalow I hung out with. This is the trail I took to the beach, and I went over to that restaurant, and here on the beach is where I took all those photos and videos. And it's a cool storytelling space. We have I brought a couple Oculus Quests if you guys want to jump in and explore my digital memory in the time machine. Gives you kind of an idea. We've also built a version for the Magic Leap. If you hit play real quick, just take my word for it. There's a version for the Magic Leap. Here, jump in the middle. Yeah. So this is an idea that we spawn like a steampunk Palantir in the middle of the room, and you can see this is me exploring. It's got like a time-space controls in the middle, and I can have everybody around it, either on their phone or a Magic Leap or a HoloLens. And we can go into my Palantir. You see downtown San Francisco right there, some balls that denote events in my life. It's pretty cool. You move the slider up top, and you dial in a year, a month, a day, a time, and then you got a joystick control space, and you hit the big red button, and bam, you time travel to a place in your memory. It's pretty fun. Didn't bring the Magic Leap today, but I'll show you guys next time. Other stuff we've done. We've actually built a conversational interface to it. And it just does some cheap natural language processing to make a query that runs into the database and then does some natural language generation out the other side to answer a question. Like, when was the last time I ate Mexican food? Last time was last Wednesday. You went to El Torito. You know, it can do basic stuff like that. And then other things that we've also done is, since we're compiling all your photos and videos, we can run machine learning on it. And one of the most interesting things that we mainly just go to like awesome TensorFlow on GitHub and grab all the best computer vision and NLP, NLG, deep learning stuff we can and throw it against the database. We make a lot of easy wins. This is some of the best stuff we've played with, which is you can actually do machine learning inference in the browser now, right there in the web browser, thanks to a few things. And I'll show you a bit about how we've been using that. Yeah, so we've been building this platform called LifeScope AI. It's essentially just a service, a microservices architecture where we can do a lot of machine learning on these personal databases. And we've tackled 6 things right now. They're very close to Amazon recognition. I guess some of these got screwed up, but it's object scene and activity detection on your photos and videos, pose matching, facial recognition, facial analysis, pathfinding in a scene, text analysis, and then kind of my favorite, photogrammetry. We can actually, we see a bunch of photos taken at grandma's house, a bunch of photos and videos. We throw them up into a photogrammetry process, and boom, we have a 3D model of grandma's house. Very, very cool. The reason I talk about the browser is, up until recently, we've just been pulling from devices, scraping off the web, pulling from APIs, but we actually want to enable our users to start writing memories directly into their personal databases, in their personal memories. So we've been building this thing we call LifeScope Capture, which is It's just a browser app that turns on your sensors and your camera and your microphone. And then it just lets you record speech and video. And then right there in the browser, we run some computer vision inference models and extract out what we see, throw it in your personal database. So this is where it starts to get interesting. We are, I talked a bit about that we've used web speech to create some very basic conversational interfaces, like search and response, and passively capturing your speech. But really where we want to go next is annotating conversation. I run LifeScope on this device, and I start talking to Kathleen. They say, hey, Kathleen, when was the last time we hung out? And the device is listening. I automatically get a response. Kathleen and I hung out Tuesday, and here's where we were, and here's how long we were. And it's just like pop-up video. I'm running my LifeScope, she's running her LifeScope, and it's constantly helping us be a little bit more objective. It's constantly referencing our biological memories with our digital memories. And then the next step from that is impersonation. It's where we start to get into digital twins. I can use this personal database to build a topic-based model of myself that knows things about me, a persona-based model about myself that knows my vocabulary and my idioms and similes, and then an emotion-based model that knows I hate grapes and I love Star Trek and how I feel about certain things. Another great experiment is actually doing some AI storytelling, which is in 5 minutes, tell me a story of my time in Washington, D.C. And it'd be like, you lived in Washington, D.C. for 5 years, and you predominantly did these things. And we've built prototypes of all this. I'm welcome to share all that we've been doing there. And this right here is the digital twin we've been working on. I know what you're thinking. You're going like, wow, that really looks toe-to-toe with Digital Domain. But we've been taking an open source tool called the Character Creator, and it's sort of like an anime-style avatar creator. And we've been wanting to automatically just pull out basic information using computer vision out of the digital memory, like what's the hair color, what's the eye color, what's the height, what's the type of clothes somebody wears, recreating an avatar, and then just using like basic phonemes to make them talk and kind of walk around. And this is a much easier to tackle and much more approachable than trying to build something in full 3D in a game engine, even though we have used like Relusion and Rococo suits and Unity to play with these ideas. So yeah, that's essentially how we've started to build digital memory as a service. We have these apps. They run on Windows, Mac, iPhone, Android, and on the web, and you get this incredible experience. This is a little. I threw in some more here. All my slides are screwed up. This is another experience we've made, which is we call the breadcrumbs. So in augmented reality, I just can see a trail I leave behind and which way I was going. As I look out, say on Sepulveda, and I can see my trail in Sepulveda. Or I can look down, and I see a floor mat of about a mile around me, and a little trail in AR that leads right under my feet to where I am at this present moment. There's other ways you can see your digital memory. Now, the real future to all of this is biodata, is actually putting rich medical information in there, doing 10 times more capture. We have a lot of limitations with that. You start getting into HIPAA, you start getting into a lot of problems. It's a really steep curve, but this is really where we see this stuff going. Yeah, and that kind of brings us back to trust and control. So you're probably wondering, well, this is all really nice, Liam, but how does this get back to, it sounds like you're just leaning into the digital panopticon. Like, how do you make the situation better? Well, everything I just showed you is completely free and open source. We have open source tools that actually allow you to collect, store, and explore and build on your own personal database. We've released them all open source, MIT open source. We We deploy this stuff up in the cloud so anybody can use it. We're radically transparent about the way we do it. We do it in such a way that everybody gets their own personal database that's salted and encrypted, so only they can access it, really to explore this idea of autonomy. And we're working with some of the best in the industry to take this much farther. I feel like I actually blasted through this pretty quickly. I have a lot more thoughts on the subject. But yeah, that's kind of a broad overview. We're mainly here because we've had a lot of success with consumers actually just giving them a personal search engine. You know, the idea that they can put their boss's name or their girlfriend's name and see everything they've done with them. You know, draw a circle around their house on a map, see everything they did there. You know, type in Led Zeppelin, see every time they listen to Led Zeppelin. People actually go gaga for that and being able to tag anything in their life and curate streams of their own personal information. But really where I want to go next with this is machine learning. I want to, and we've done a lot of experiments with this, is predicting where people are going to go next, what they're going to do next, what their chat agents, what they're going to say next, and then coming up with ideas of how to actually suggest better ideas. You want to be healthier? Do this. You want to be more productive? Do this. You want to have more free time? Do this. You want to be happier? Do this. And the other side of the AI is, oh, you don't want to go to that meeting? Send your digital avatar. You want to find the next thing to watch? Have your digital have your personal AI watch everything on Netflix and come up with, based on your history and everything about you, come up with the perfect recommendation. Go on OkCupid and find me the perfect girlfriend. Go on Monster, find me the perfect job. Go on Twilio, find me the perfect house. And this is to do that type of amazing, absolutely fully customized recommendations. You need clean, complete, and up-to-date data on yourself. And we aim to do this in levels that have never been done before. A few more for the road. We wrote, with some guys from Second City, a crazy set of skits. It's kind of an homage to Dr. Strangelove. We call it the Council of Data. And you guys in Hollywood will actually get a kick out of it. It's up on our YouTube page. I won't show it now. And we're going to be doing a whole ad campaign explaining the whole idea of why you should care about digital identity, why you would want a digital memory, why you shouldn't trust the incumbents out there in Silicon Valley. I highly encourage you guys to check it out. I have some more example slides about some of the stuff we've done in digitization and actually pulling things out of photogrammetry and how we can mine. How are we doing on time? I got 9 minutes left. Cool, I'm going to rant a bunch. I threw some stuff on the end because I figured I was going to take forever. So this right here you guys might find very interesting. This is called deep digitization. So if you guys know, all your ARKit, ARCore cameras have depth sensors on them. So I can scan this room with my AR phone, and I get a 3D model like this. Or I can run photogrammetry on some video and photos, and I get a model like this. And the latest in machine learning will actually automatically segment that model into unique objects, and then it can take each of these segmented bits and reference them with 3D databases to figure out what it's looking like, what those things actually look like and what they are, and then reconstruct the scene very clean and complete based on the raw information. And there's about 3 services that do this right now, and I would expect in about 12 months this is going to be open sourced. Just to show you how the raw data comes in, this is, if you hit play, I don't know if this will play, it might be a YouTube video. This is 60 AI structure for motion algorithm. It's essentially how to do this real time on a phone. You guys know 60 AI? Yeah, okay, cool. Go look them up. Here, I'll just move past it. This is what it looks like on the other side. This is digitization being done from a combination of This is what happens when you slam together photographs, aerial data, street view data. You start to reconstruct a 4D copy of the Earth that looks like this. This is that one's from Google Earth. This one's some of my friends' work. That's another one of my friends' work. And it's really it's really this whole idea that we're all going to have that there's going to be an end-all be-all 4D copy of the Earth. What we've done at our team is we did some pretty cheap tricks to build that digital time machine to actually lay a personal digital memory on top of it. What we did was we went out to some of the biggest geospatial providers and just got access to all their databases. If you go to about 12 of them, you can get pretty much all the aerial satellites out there, plus all the aerial data that's USGS and everybody else has for the last 100 years. You line them all up by time, and you can build a database where you plug in a latitude, a longitude, and a date, and it'll take you right there. And you can, the data source from satellites, drones, quorums of devices, and you get a pretty powerful time machine. The resolution on this stuff right now is pretty broad, but as like companies like Mapillary right now are actually buying data from from dash cams and cell phones, so that this is going to have just massive resolution as time goes on. And I could show you a lot of our work on this if you're interested. This is what photogrammetry can do indoors, by the way. This is an example of something that was done in Menlo Park. This is an entire office reconstructed from the social media feeds of the employees using photogrammetry. And our tech does a very similar process. And then this is stuff we've done in our web AI. This is some of our prototypes of actually, this is done in a web browser, believe it or not, of what you can do to slam together a bunch of different data sets to build a 4D copy of the world. Other notes I wanted to bring up. I think that the one technology that nobody really talks about in this space of immersion is projection mapping. I think projection mapping might come from behind to rule everything, that these headsets might get thrown away. And we're just going to start replacing all the lights in all the rooms with projectors. And the reason that's going to get, and our digital, and these digital twins, these synthetic beings will be projected on the walls. And you're probably saying, well, that doesn't sound terribly immersive. Well, perspective AR and immersive displays, this is like what AR Wall's doing, is probably going to be very commonplace. We're going to have projectors moving out, or displays, and then cameras and depth sensors looking in, tracking our eyes and faces. We're very much building our tech stack with projection mapping in mind, that we want you're going to want your digital memory just kind of around you, kind of responding to you in the long term. And we have some really cool open source tech that's much like this. Got 2 minutes left. This is Neil Trevitt's slide. He talked about it again at SIGGRAPH. I try to just espouse this to everybody. This is the leader of the Kronos group, who does all the real heavy tech stuff, is constantly talking about that we're going to essentially have the stack of the future is going to be sensing the entire world, recording the virtual world and the real world in 3D all the time. We're going to be running the same code for everything from your tiny mobile device all the way up to your hundreds of thousands of dollars of immersive XR system. And the code is going to be written in such a way that it's completely agnostic to the sensors and things that it's running on. At least that's the vision. There's like 1,000 problems to that. That we'll get there. And this is another just basic thing that I'm sure most of you already know, which is machine learning models move anywhere. There's 2 steps in machine learning, as most of you probably know, the training and inference step. And we've taken advantage of this property very, very well, that we can take pre-trained models, retrain them, move them from anywhere to anywhere. And we really think that as far as the edge goes, the web browsers are the most interesting. You know what? I'm kind of bored with the rest of my slides. I want to get to questions. Yeah, nothing worth talking about. Anybody have any questions? Yeah. No.